morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I wasn't sure if Zach was saying good morning or if I was, so we'll do it simultaneously. You think we could do it?
Probably.
1, 2, 3. Good morning, everyone.
Welcome to the Daily Huddle. For those of you that are with us live and in person, it's always great to see you. It's always great to hear from you. And for those of you that are watching us online on YouTube live or on a replay, if you ever want to become part of this live group here, I wanted to make sure that everybody knows that you can go to dailyhuddle.live and register to be part of the Daily Huddle family. And we will then send you a link with how to get on our podcast live each and every single day. So we do have a lot of faithful folks that get on and support in a live fashion. It's just another way to make sure that the intent of the Daily Huddle, which is to start your day off in a positive way with your mind pointed in the right direction, is cut out of your day, so you can actually get on here live, you can watch, you can have your little picture there if you want to, but it means that you've dedicated this 30 minutes of time to yourself and to getting where you want to go. So again, that's dailyhuddle.live. Fill out the information and you'll receive an email post that with the link to join live on our Daily Huddle mornings. So we're excited today. Normally it's Money Monday, but we also talked about a while back as a group having a mindset / Money Monday, and we've talked about money. We've talked about mindset about money, but we haven't really spent a lot of time diving into mindset all by itself. And so we asked a question today: is how are your thoughts impacting your results? That's not just yours, that's mine, that's everybody's. And I'm okay. Actually, this morning being open for the peanut gallery that is here live to share, to ask questions, to give thoughts, whether you agree with what we're talking about or you have contrary experiences, either one, because I think that's it's a good way to kind of hash it out and for people to hear from real life experiences. So we have plenty of content if you guys don't want to jump in, but if you do, we would love to have that from that perspective. So what about thoughts impacts outcome or results? I mean, where does it start? And we've been talking about this for a couple of days now. It really starts when?
I think everything about thoughts impacts your outcomes.
Yeah. So if you think you will fail, right?
Then you will.
You're going to fail at whatever it is. That's the oldest adage as a coach, as those kind of things, is if you think you can't, then you're right. If you think you can, you're also right. Now, why do we talk about this? There's so much going on, and we've raised, we're raising, we haven't raised. I don't think you're ever finished raising kids.
At least that's what people say, right? I'm sure my mom would say the same thing.
But four girls, 4 daughters, range in age from 23 to 14, 15, no, 14, just turned 14. Wow, God. Anyway, but a lot going on. It's been a busy house, but we have had a lot of these mindset moments over the years. Thankfully, we were prepared for that by our mentors before we even started getting to the communicative stages with our kids. Before they were even talking about things, we were talking to them about what they could and couldn't do and how important it was that their mindset was in the right direction. So the beginning of this for us, and some of you guys have read this, it's one of the most widely sold, widely read books on self-development that there is out there. And we'll reference a couple of books, but this one is Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, if I could say the title. And, I think before you dive into this subject matter of your thoughts impacting your actions, you actually have to wrap your head around how much control you actually have over the outcomes in your life. There are certain things that we can't control, but how we deal with the things that are handed to us is really what we can control, is how we take it in. Are we a victim of that, or are we in control of our response, our reaction to that? That's actually the 8th thing that we tell people on the way on the sign off, is to check yourself, to pause. And I always say at the end of our meetings, to take your pause between stimulus and response, because how we respond to our stimuli is what's going to affect our mindset moving forward in that direction. So our friend Jody, who's been on here before, he always says that success leaves clues. And so if you ever have wondered how successful people became successful, then the best thing you could do is see who they are, see where they came from, and see what they did. Um, Napoleon Hill's book is based on an idea. So he says in the beginning chapters that was given to him by Andrew Carnegie. And Carnegie said, I know that there's a common thread. I don't know what it is, but whoever figures out the common thread between all these people that are successful will make a fortune. They'll understand how to teach it to other people, how to teach success. And pretty much every single self-help motivational speaker, author, everyone since then has taken his research, Napoleon Hill's research from the Carnegie idea, and rebranded it, changed it, and done something different with it. The best example that I can give you from that perspective is Napoleon Hill talks about in trying to come up with a title for the book, Think and Grow Rich. He said, I knew I had $1 million idea, but I had to have $1 million title. And I'm going to bring this back around. I'm going to bring this back around to the actual topic of the day, which is how our thoughts impact our outcome. But he said, I knew I had a $1 million book based on a $1 million idea, but I needed $1 million title. And so he said, he sat there one night and he just sat up and he talked to his subconscious mind. And then you have to read and I have this on audio. So
it's on Apple Podcasts too.
It is.
You can definitely get Napoleon Hill in his own words. And if you've never heard it, you should absolutely listen because it's fantastic, right?
Mhm.
It's just the way he speaks and his voice and his tone, and obviously from the 30s, is that what he was?
Yeah.
So just a little different dialect than we use today, but it's fantastic. So definitely listen to this story in his own words because
He tells the
it's
story,
awesome.
and it is Napoleon Hill in his own words. I think it's audio recordings from lectures that he did back in the day. But anyway, he says, I just told myself, I sat up and I said, listen here, old sub. And he was talking to his subconscious mind. And he said, I need $1 million book title by tomorrow morning. I got to get it to the publishers. We got to get this book out. I need $1 million book title. And he was talking to his own subconscious. He was giving himself permission to think differently, but he was also kind of taking the pressure off of his own creative thought process. If you've ever been in that, like a writer's block or anything like that, where you're thinking so hard about how you can do this, sometimes you just have to take your foot off the gas, right? And sure enough, he shot up in the middle of the night that night. So his story goes with the title Think and Grow Rich. And the rest is history from that perspective. So understanding the power of the subconscious will let you understand how important your thoughts that you allow in impact your outcomes. And you can take it from thoughts. We talk about self-talk and words and those kind of things. Those are very, very detrimental too. When you say things out loud, your subconscious hears them. And I talk about your subconscious like it's another person, like it's not, it's you, but you're programming yourself on a regular basis. And we have a tendency to believe exactly what we say and think about ourselves subconsciously at a deep level. So if we give ourselves permission and we give ourselves encouragement, it will impact our outcomes directly. And what I was talking about newer people that have rebranded and reprinted and those kind of things. Tony Robbins, years later after that, came up with, everybody thought it was this great, amazing concept, this great, amazing thing called neuro-linguistic programming. And basically he was talking about words impact your subconscious, and what you say and what you hear and those kind of things are very important. So again, talking about saying every morning a definite purpose or something for the day, that's basically
Grand
what he says.
rising.
Exactly. Call it out there. Don't leave it to chance.
Jim.
Oh yeah, yeah. We had a good friend, soccer dad, that was his daughter played soccer with our daughter, and no matter where you were, when you were, what was going on in the world, you said, Jim, how are you doing today? And he said, living the dream. And sometimes you could tell with his inflection that it was a bad dream, and sometimes it was a good dream, but it was always living the dream. So and that dream is ours to shape. But let's talk a little bit about, I know that Kimberly and I both come from the teaching background. I say that we both went to college to get an education degree, and we taught for a very brief period of time.
We taught traditionally in the classroom. I think we still teach all day, every day.
Sure.
But traditionally in the classroom, we taught for a very short period of time.
Yeah, and I'm from a long line of educators, retired teachers, superintendents, those kind of things. So education in that light has been around my life as long as I can remember. But it's always about in a teacher's conversation, it's about kids and what their potential is and who's this and who's that. And one of the things that used to drive Kimberly and myself crazy was when we were about to get a new group of kids. And I taught seventh grade in middle school, and the sixth graders were on a different hall. And the sixth grade teachers would feel the need to come to the seventh grade teachers and say, "Okay, watch out, watch out for this kid. This one's going to cause problems. This one's going to do those kind of things." And finally, at one point in time, the seventh grade teachers got together and we were like, "Listen, we don't want you to tell us that. We want to formulate our own thoughts. We want to give those kids a shot to start fresh when they come into our classroom." And it was amazing because a lot of times when they told us somebody was going to give us problems, they gave us problems. But when we stopped that, we were able to determine who was giving us problems and deal with it in that fashion. But preconceived notions about people's ability to succeed or fail in the classroom has been going on for a long time. I think there was a study in the 60s, right? Where was that?
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but there was a study, and basically, this scientific group came in and they studied all of these kids and gave them all these tests and all this stuff, right? And then they went up to the teachers afterwards and they said, "These are your special kids." What they call them? Do you remember?
Bloomers.
These are the bloomers.
It was a test that didn't really tell anything, but they gave it to everybody. It was more or less a placebo test.
But nobody knew that,
Correct.
right? They were scientists and they came in their official capacity and they're testing all these kids. And then they chose a few from each group and they went to the teachers and said, "These are your bloomers. These are the kids that are going to bloom over the next year. And these are the ones that are going to be your superstars. But you can't tell them that that's what this test says, right? You
Right.
can't tell them that they are the chosen few, if you will." And it was really interesting because they went back the next year and magically those bloomers, the chosen few, were the ones that had succeeded the most. But when you go back and you look at their data and you look at their research, they were just average normal kids. They literally drew their names out of a hat. Like it wasn't anything, it wasn't the top, it wasn't the bottom, it wasn't the middle. It was just a random drawing of names. But because they told those teachers that those kids would be their superstars, magically they became those superstars because those teachers believed in those kids. So it's not only about you believing in yourself, because it is, but it's also about what you allow in your head, right? What other people think about you that you listen to. And kids notoriously, obviously, as they should, some and some, I don't know, that's a whole different conversation. We can have that conversation later, but they should, of course, respect their teachers and listen to their teachers. But your teachers have a strong ability to program your children's mind, as do their parents, as do the preachers and the churches that you put your kids into, as do the music that they listen to and the TV shows that they watch. I remember, I don't know, you guys think we're crazy because we probably are, but I remember, remember we have two sets of kids, and when Emma and McKenna were little, who are our oldest two, they loved to watch Lion King. Loved to watch Lion King, right? Like loved it. To the point where Emma was Scar, the mean lion, and McKenna, her younger sister, was Simba, right? And McKenna would be like playing like she was Simba, and Emma would be Scar, and she'd scratch McKenna's hand, and then McKenna would die. And I was like, we can't do this anymore. Like, I don't think that's the purpose of this movie, but we can't watch this anymore. So we literally turned off all of our televisions and we went to Sam's Club or something at the time, and we bought Little House on the Prairie, and we bought because they've sold them in the DVD sets, and they watched it on repeat and they loved it. And then Emma wanted to quit school because she wanted to come home and help us sew.
She
I
was
don't
gonna
sew.
she was gonna sew like
But
to help raise money for the family.
But I did that because I was worried that the lessons of the Lion King are fantastic, right? But they were only seeing that one lesson, and Emma was using it as, to be stronger than her sister and mean to her. And it wasn't what I wanted them to program their minds with. And so I think we have to think about that all the time. Hubert Humphrey, who's our mentor and obviously the founder of our company, he says all the time, he says, brainwash yourself or somebody else is going to. right? And I want to say it again, and I want to say it clearly, and I'm going to slow down because sometimes you're like, I don't, brainwashing is bad. But ultimately, we're brainwashed every single day by whatever we allow into our heads, right? So brainwash yourself or somebody else is going to. Make your daily affirmations and make them be what you expect them to be, what you want them to be, your biggest hopes and dreams and goals. Read positive things. Surround yourself with people who think like you do. Listen to podcasts that open your mind, but brainwash yourself every single day, because if you don't, and you turn on the news and you listen to what's happening in the world around us, it isn't always so great, right? We allow that negativity and that concern to creep into ourselves, into our mind, and ultimately it becomes what we think about every day, right? The instead of the world being amazing and listening to the birds in the morning when you go outside and have your cup of coffee because they're always singing. If you go out there, even in New York City, right? We think skyscrapers and big city, but if you go out there, I promise you, you'll hear the birds if you listen. But you have to listen. And I know you're going to talk about this too, but we tell our kids, we tell people, sometimes we're talking to them about our business and they're like, well, I'm going to go do some research. Okay, great. Go do some research. But ultimately, you're going to find whatever you're looking for, right? Whether it's positive, whether it's negative. If I want to say that this is the best product in the world, it's going to be the best product in the world because that's what I'm looking for. If I'm going to say it's the worst product in the world, it's going to be the worst product in the world because that's what I'm looking for. So if you guys have ever really thought about that typically what you think in your head and what you go out there to research and find about something, you find it because that's what you're looking for, right? So be careful, I think. Maybe I'm rambling, but be
No,
careful, I think, of what you look for, because you will always find what you're looking for. And I'm going to shut up in a minute and then you
that's
can
all right.
talk. But
I said I was going to give you permission to talk, and everybody.
thanks.
Anybody that
Um,
has some comments or some thought processes.
If y'all know us well enough, that gives me permission to speak quite often, right?
Right. Yeah.
But the other thing that I want you to be really cautious about is talking about how busy you are. I have some friends that every single day they go through their schedule every single day, and oh my God, I have to be here and here and here and here and here and here and here, right? And McKenna did it the other day, right, with what she has going on and crew and just the stress of what's coming up. And it's hard for us not to do that because I think we live such busy lives, but we also have to slow down and appreciate the moment. We go to Maui on Sunday. Super excited about it. Can't wait. I'm going to enjoy every single minute of it. But it's also oh my God, we have all these different things to do before we go to Maui. Can we enjoy it when we get there? Yes, absolutely. But we have to be careful about talking about how busy we are, how stressed we are, how worried we are, because it consumes us. And it's hard, I think, to redirect your mind to think something differently, right? Especially if you're in that moment or that season of busyness or that season of worry or season of stress. But you have to, or it will consume you.
Yeah, the subconscious is very interesting in that your words and what your conscious mind is focused on have a tendency to multiply and sit back in the subconscious. So if I tell myself or I tell Kimberly every day that I'm worried about, things that are going the wrong direction, I'm not only thinking about that consciously, but I'm telling my subconscious mind that it needs to be focused on that while I'm asleep, while I'm not focused on it. It needs to, and so my everything about my body and the way I feel becomes nervous, concerned, worried. I used to tell students about when it's a control thing, right? And so when you actually give yourself credit for what you've done and allow your efforts to compound, knowing that you've done everything you could, that's a big piece. Is that when we say if you think you're going to fail, you're right. Failure, you don't have to try to do. You just do nothing and you'll fail 99.9% of the time. You may get lucky and somebody drop a lottery ticket in your lap that is a winner. I don't know, hadn't heard of that before, but majority of the time, if you do nothing, you're going to be successful at nothing. But if you do what's required or necessary to get towards your goal, first of all, one of the most important pieces of everything we're talking about is know where you want to go. Know what you want to accomplish. Big, small, whatever. Start with knowing where you want to go and putting forth your best effort to get there. And then believe that you'll be successful. You have to give yourself the ability to be successful by believing in yourself. So I used to tell students, we're getting ready for standardized tests, and that I hate them, whatever. It's the world of education. So when I was teaching school, I would go through and teach the curriculum the way it was supposed to be taught, but I would never miss an opportunity to deviate from the topic. If a kid asks a good question, teachable moments were a big thing in my class. But we would get to standardized testing, and the kids were all worried because they were going to be judged by, the gifted and talented program. They're going to be judged by the next year's teachers for which classes they got to be put in based off these standardized test scores. And I would tell them, we have done everything we could do to be prepared. You have done everything you could do to be prepared. And guess what? Here's the big winner here. Even if you haven't, you can't do anything more tomorrow. When you go into that test room, you got to give it away, and you got to say, I have done everything I can, and or I can't do anything else. So I'm going to be right here, and the best of me is going to come out on this test. And that right there changed their entire, there was no stress when they walked into the test room. There was no anxiety about, and no second guessing the questions and the answers and all those kind of things. When you prepare with a goal in mind and you get to a point of test or of measure, then you can give yourself, you can totally give yourself permission to let your preparation come out without stress or worry about making those decisions at that very moment. So give yourself permission to focus on positive things, focus on the direction that you want to go in, and don't feel that it's your responsibility to be aware of all the negativity around you, because you will see it's around you all the time. But around all the negative pieces that are around
really
your world, there are great things that it's all about what you focus on. So, and the best example that I can give, and I will certainly open this up for people to raise their hands for the last 5 minutes or share their own experiences. But the best example I can give is, if you've ever bought a new car and it was the new car to you, whether it was brand new or used or whatever, and you loved this car, you thought about it, you shopped for it and everything else, and you thought, I have this car. And then you go out on the road in your new car, and all of a sudden, everybody's got that car. You've never noticed that there were so many of them all around you. You were looking, shopping, doing whatever. But whatever you focus on is what you will see. So remember that when you get up in the morning, when you start your day, when you chime into the daily huddle, remember you're in the right place at the right time. Remember all those things, and give yourself permission not to look at the bad things, but look at the good things all around them and focus on them, because that'll become contagious. You'll share that with other people.
Even if it's a habit that you have to create, right?
Yep.
Even if it's a habit that you have to practice because that isn't who you are. Redirect your mind when you start thinking of something negative and envision something different. And the more you do that, and the more you consciously train yourself to see good things, then the more subconsciously it just becomes who you are.
Does anybody have any personal experiences they want to share of when they were focused on something good, or when maybe they were focused on something bad, and it either supports or refutes what we're talking about here? I'm open either way. We have several personal experiences, but we've talked a lot. So if anybody else wants to share and be involved, either unmute and throw it at us, or raise your hand, either one.
It's like this weird, awkward silence, right?
That's all right. That's all right.
So while you guys are thinking, I think it's important to. So Zach and I were talking this morning about this conversation and what we were going to talk about, and in what direction. And I'm a big believer in, thinking about what you want to happen and only what you want to happen, right? Anything else leaves room for chance, and it makes me really nervous. But it's also really hard. So Harper, our youngest, is going through school applications, and they come out the announcements of if you're worthy come out Sunday, and it's nerve-wracking, right? Like, my hands are sweaty and we're all nervous and we're all like, oh my gosh, what does this school say, what does that school say? And she has in her mind a few really top choices of where she wants to go, and in her mind she's like, this is where I'm going next year. I'm like, okay, this is where she's going next year, right? And then Zach and I were talking about this morning. He's like, I'm so nervous. Like, I'm just ready for Sunday, because obviously it's a big decision for her, for us, for our family, for her future, for everything on who says yes on Sunday, right? Hopefully she's got lots of yeses, and then she has her choice. But I was saying, I was like, you can't think negatively. You just have to think where she's going to go and this is going to happen. It's what she wants to happen and she needs to manifest this. And Zach's like, yes, but, and then you can give him your same standardized test conversation that you were talking about, but just
you can do that.
ultimately,
You can do that as long as it's there's work that preceded that, which in her case there was a lot of preparation in class, doing well previous years, getting the right essays written the right way to submit with applications and all those kind of things. But you can't manifest success without effort. You can't manifest where you want to be and be upset if you don't get there, if you don't put the right foot in front of the left foot and vice versa. If you don't put your effort out there behind your goals, you're never going to get to where you want to get to. So that's kind of what manifesting is great. Thinking about what you want to have happen, but realizing, and it was in another book called The Secret years ago, realizing that if you sit on your couch and you wish for success, ultimately they're going to come take your couch away from you. If you get off your couch knowing where you can go and be successful and that you can be
simultaneous,
then that's what works. But we have to do after we think and believe and focus, we have to do. So, all right, guys. Well, that's our time for this morning. Love being here. Love this, again, opportunity. And remember, if you're out there watching on a replay or you're watching live on YouTube and you want to get involved and you were like sitting there in your chair today saying, ooh, I got this, then if you want to chime in, go to dailyhuddle.live, register to be part of the Daily Huddle family, and you will get the link to get on to our podcast live as a guest or as an attendee, and be able to do that. If it's something that you're interested in and being a guest, same thing, reach out. We can certainly talk to you about that. But thank you guys for your time. I'll remind you as we go out into our day to love, laugh out loud, stress less. Remember, you've done what you could do to get to today. Now you just got to let your hard work pay off. Eat mostly plant-based. Take care of your body. Chime in and listen to Chase tell you about that later on this week. And then give time, give of whatever you can. It feels good. Sleep, that feels good. Move, get your exercise every day. And then finally, like I mentioned earlier on, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Give yourself a minute, because how you respond to your stimuli is going to change the direction you go in for the rest of the day. So thanks, guys. Enjoyed seeing you. Enjoyed talking to you.
Bye. Happy Monday.
Thank you. Excellent job. Bye now.
Bye, Stacey.
Thank you.